The Singing Bone, a Tale of Brothers Grimm. In a certain country there was once great lamentation over a wild boar that laid waste to the farmers' fields, killed the cattle, and ripped up people's bodies with his tusks. The king promised a large reward to anyone who would free the land from this plague, but the beast was so big and strong that no one dared to go near the forest in which it lived. At last the king gave notice that whosoever should capture or kill the wild boar would have his only daughter to wife. Now there lived in the country 2 brothers, sons of a poor man, who declared themselves willing to undertake the hazardous enterprise. The elder, who was crafty and shrewd, out of pride; the younger, who was innocent and simple, from a kind heart. The king said, "In order that you may be the more sure of finding the beast, you must go into the forest from opposite sides." So the elder went in on the west side, and the younger on the east. When the younger had gone a short way, a little man stepped up to him. He held in his hand a black spear, and he said, "I give you this spear because your heart is pure and good. With this you can boldly attack the wild boar, and it shall do you no harm." He thanked the little man, shouldered the spear, and went on fearlessly. Before long he saw the beast, which rushed at him. But he held the spear towards it, and in its blind fury it ran so swiftly against it that his heart was cloven in 2. He took the monster on his back and went homewards with it to the king. As he came out of the other side of the wood, there stood at the entrance a house where people were making merry with wine and dancing. His elder brother had gone in here, and thinking that after all the boar would not run away from him, was going to drink until he felt brave. But when he saw his young brother coming out of the wood laden with his booty, his envious evil heart gave him no peace, and he called out to him, "Come in, dear brother, and refresh yourself with a cup of wine." The youth, who suspected no evil, went in and told him about the good little man who had given him the spear wherewith he had slain the boar. The elder brother kept him there until evening, and then they went away together. And when, in the darkness, they came to a bridge over a brook, the elder brother let the other go first, and when he was halfway across he gave him such a blow from behind that he fell down dead. He buried him beneath the bridge, took the boar, and carried it to the king, pretending he had killed it, whereupon he obtained the king's daughter in marriage. And when his younger brother did not come back, he said, "The boar must have killed him," and everyone believed it. But as nothing remains hidden from God, so this black deed also came to light. Years afterwards a shepherd was driving his herd across the bridge, and saw lying in the sand beneath a snow-white little bone. He thought it would make a good mouthpiece, so he clambered down, picked it up, and cut out of it a mouthpiece for his horn. But when he blew through it for the first time, to his great astonishment, the bone of its own accord began to sing. "Ah, friend, thou blowest upon my bone, long have I lain beside the water. My brother slew me for the boar, and took for his wife the young king's daughter." "What a wonderful horn!" said the shepherd. "It sings by itself. I must take it to my lord the king." And when he came with it to the king, the horn again began to sing its little song. The king understood it all, and caused the ground below the bridge to be dug up, and then the whole skeleton of the murdered man came to light. The wicked brother could not deny his deed, and was sewn up in a sack and drowned, but the bones of the murdered man were laid to rest in a beautiful tomb in the churchyard. The end. Simeli Mountain, a Tale of Brothers Grimm. There were once 2 brothers, the one rich, the other poor. The rich one, however, gave nothing to the poor one, and he gained a scanty living by trading in corn, and often did so badly he had no bread for his wife and children. Once, when he was wheeling a barrow through the forest, he saw on one side of him a great, bare, naked-looking mountain. As he had never seen it before, he stood still and stared at it in amazement. While he was thus standing, he saw 12 great wild men coming toward him, and as he believed they were robbers, he pushed his barrow into the thicket, climbed up a tree, and waited to see what would happen. The 12 men, however, went to the mountain and cried, Semsi Mountain, open!" And immediately the barren mountain opened down the middle, and the 12 went into it, and as soon as they were within, it shut. But after a time, however, it opened again, and the men came forth carrying heavy sacks on their shoulders, and when they were all once more in the daylight, they said, Semsi Mountain, shut thyself." And the mountain closed together, and there was no longer any entrance to be seen, and the 12 went away. When they were quite out of sight, the poor man got down from the tree and was curious to know what was really secretly hidden in the mountain. So he went up to it and said, Semsi Mountain, open," and the mountain opened to him also. Then he went inside, and the whole mountain was a cavern full of silver and gold, and behind lay great piles of pearls and sparkling jewels heaped up like corn. The poor man hardly knew what to do, and whether he might take any of these treasures for himself or not. But at last he filled his pockets with gold, but left the pearls and precious stones where they were. When he came out again, he said, Semsi Mountain, shut thyself," and the mountain closed itself, and he went home with his barrow. and now he had no more cause for anxiety, but could buy bread for his wife and children with his gold, and wine into the bargain. He lived joyously and uprightly, gave help to the poor, and did good to everyone. When, however, the money came to an end, he went to his brother, borrowed a measure that held a bushel, and brought himself some more, but did not touch any of the most valuable things. When for the third time he wanted to fetch something, he again borrowed the measure of his brother. The rich man had, however, long been envious of his brother's possessions, and of the handsome way of living which he had set on foot, and could not understand from whence the riches came, and what his brother wanted with the measure. Then he thought of a cunning trick, and covered the bottom of the measure with pitch, and when he got the measure back, a piece of money was sticking in it. And he at once went to his brother, and asked him, "What hast thou been measuring in the bushel measure?" "Corn and barley," replied the other. Then the elder showed him the piece of money, and threatened if he did not tell the truth he would accuse him before a court of justice. And the poor man told him everything, just as it happened. The rich man, however, ordered his carriage to be made ready, and drove away, resolved to use the opportunity better than his brother had done, and to bring back with him quite different treasures. When he came to the mountain, he cried, Simsi mountain, open!" The mountain opened, and he went inside it. There lay the treasures all before him, and for a long time he did not know which to clutch at first. At length he loaded himself with as many precious stones as he could carry. He wished to carry his burden outside, but as his heart and soul were entirely full of treasures, he had forgotten the name of the mountain, and cried, Simeli mountain, open!" But that was not the right name, and the mountain never stirred, but remained shut. Then he was alarmed, but the longer he thought about it, the more his thoughts confused themselves, and his treasures were no more of any use to him. In the evening the mountain opened, and the 12 robbers came in, and when they saw him they laughed, and cried out, "Bird, have we caught thee at last? Didst thou think we had never noticed thou had been here twice? We could not catch thee then, but this third time thou shalt not get out again." And he cried, "It was not I, it was my brother." But they let him beg for his life and say what he would like, and they cut his head off anyway. The end.